Regular money to ask you a question. I'll make one up if I remember. Okay. Fair enough.
We have a short period of time, and so the first matter is with Mr. Davis. I'm going to go ahead and call this work session to order at 6:36. And the first thing on the work session is the TIA projects list. We all received a copy of that some time ago. We also received an updated version of that. Mr. Davis, you have anything you want to say to that?
Well, I basically can answer questions for y'all if you have any. We did send out the list, which was the same list we had before. I did make some shifts of the money, the cost estimates in the list. The engineers, our city engineer was working on the Ronald Reagan Tree Lane project. And he came back with a budget estimate that was higher than mine. So I called him up, and his high number and his low number are the medium number that I actually put in the budget.
Okay, that's Tree Lane and Ronald Reagan.
Tree Lane and Ronald Reagan, yes.
Extension, city, or county, are all those numbers changed across the board?
Yes, they did.
Okay, new numbers are?
New numbers are, total is $3 million. And $1.5 million from us and $1.5 million from the county. And then I adjusted the other numbers to keep the same $44.2 million for our work, based on what we expect to receive from the TIA.
So that's the latest one you sent?
That is the latest one.
And so what we have tonight, anything that we pass is all just estimates. What we have to do is have a tentative list into the county so that if this passes, we have basically a placeholder.
We have a placeholder in place already. I talked to Alan Chapman at the county, and he has our last guesstimate and project list in as the placeholder for us. If you read the articles this weekend in the paper, you know we're not actually held to whatever list we come up with, but I think it's going to be a fluid target, because I'm not sure that there's actually going to be a need for a list. It's going to be real close, I think.
And so anything, if the T-SPLOST does pass, any cost or any projects or anything like that still have to come back in front of the mayor.
They still have to come back in front of the mayor and council, and what you see here is, I think is a very good wish list for us. It's two major road projects, Tree Lane at Reagan and possibly Wisteria, getting it straightened out where that skewed intersection is down by the high school. That's part of the LCI, is to actually T-bone that intersection out so that it functions a bit better. But that's my last priority in the list. I've got some additional things that I can share with you. If you would like to, I'll email them out to you. I've also got them printed out if you'd like a copy tonight, just some extra graphics that go with it. But there's nothing major changed other than that cost perspective.
And so the reason we have it on tonight's agenda is this is what, 6 weeks, 4 weeks till the vote?
Yeah.
And so if there's something on there y'all aren't happy with, or something on there that you absolutely want the voters to see, then we need to know so that we can get that information to the county.
And you said you'd email some additions?
They're just graphics. I can give them to you right now, hard copies that you can look at.
Oh, okay.
Just something to let you understand it a little
Yeah,
better.
if you have I love diagrams. That's
Everybody likes diagrams. Thank you. It's larger print for those of us who are blind.
Graphically challenged?
Yeah, graphically challenged, that's me. I did put, there's one thing in there that's a blow up of the concept sketch for the Reagan Tree Lane with the actual call outs of what we're thinking about doing there. And the other stuff you got in the email.
this list has already gone to the county. Does anyone have any objections to anything that's on this list? Speak now.
Actually, it's a floating list, so this gets us in there and lets them know we have something.
It's a great start.
It's a good, I figure we got 10 years to work it out.
Yeah.
And the way I put the list in there, we have streetscape as an element. And streetscape is one of those terms that's loose enough that we can do a lot of stuff with streetscape.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Thank you.
LCI update and discussion of job description for assistant city manager. I'm gonna ask that we go into exec session to discuss those two items. So if you wanna go down, do we want to go through the actual public agenda before we have the, that was not part of tonight's work session agenda. That's why we have a short work session tonight, so. Well, first tonight, we will first take public input on our 2013 fiscal year budget. Excuse me, let me skip around for just a minute. We will have the first reading on the fiscal year 2012 budget. I know I saw some of you earlier today. I'm asking for a motion to postpone that. Staff is still getting, our fiscal year 2012 doesn't end until June 30th. Staff is still getting in bills we're paying. We don't have to amend that until after June 30th. And it doesn't really make sense for us to amend it now when we don't know what the final costs are gonna be. So if we could amend that, put it on for a first reading on July 9th, and then pass the amended budget on July 23rd, I think is our second meeting.
Now the question, are we under some sort of a immediate deadline by the state? I thought we were.
That's for 2013. This is for our current year budget, which doesn't end until June 30th.
Right.
And so to amend that, we don't have all of our bills and invoices paid for 2012. There's no deadline for that, except for the auditor's deadline, which isn't until what, like August or something like that, so we're not under time crunch.
Yes, the budget is already.
Right. So is that agreeable to everyone?
So July 9th?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For first reading.
First reading and then July
23rd.
23rd.
So we'll just need a motion to postpone the first reading until July 9th tonight. The consideration action on award of bids for the Lakeside Pavilion repairs. That was on our agenda last time, I believe. Billy, we got what we needed,
Yes, we did.
and we're ready to go forward with awarding that. Does anybody have any questions for Billy? Now that is something we're gonna talk about in the 2013 budget. That is one of the changes we had to make, to go back and add that cost in, and we'll talk about that in just a minute.
You have a projected completion date?
They said 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
I questioned that because we've got to get some steel engineered, and, but optimistically they're saying 2 weeks.
Any other questions for Billy about the pavilion? Any questions about the actual bid or award of the bid?
I mean, after we, if we all agree on this, when would they give you a proposed start date?
I haven't asked them for that yet, I was waiting, but I do have a contract that needs to be signed. It's already executed by them, and they're anxious to start work, so I imagine it would be very quickly.
Okay.
Any other questions for Billy? Okay. Consideration action on award of bid for dispatch workstation. This was something the chief had discussed with us before this gets cut. We put it in here so we could buy it in fiscal year 2012 budget, because we get reimbursed with that 911 money out of this year's budget. If not, we'll lose that money, so the chief asked that we place it on this agenda. Does anybody have any questions about the dispatch workstation? All right, so that then brings us to our fiscal year 2013 budget. Did you give everybody copies of the tax stuff? The tax sheets, did you make copies of those budgets? Yes.
No, The all three pieces, please?
Yeah.
I took one part, but you had a staple on the picture.
Oh, you took one?
No, no, yeah, no, it was one packet. Yeah, so just you can ignore the other.
I'm looking at two different sheets.
You should have three
Look at the
sheets
one
of
that's
paper.
stapled together, Bobby, the 3 sheets stapled, ignore what Mike gave you. He ripped apart one, yeah.
The one I gave you is mine.
Use the one I just gave you.
Okay. You should have all received an email from Karen today with the fiscal year 2013 budget. Taxes are the most complicated, so we're gonna come back to that. There's some changes in the 2013 budget. We already had a first reading. So in order to make these changes, we'll have to do an amendment, a motion to amend the budget to reflect these changes so that the public knows about them. Some of them have to do with the taxes, and we'll come back to those in just a minute. I wanna go through the other things first. First, if you look on the front page, the transfers and the capital improvements were changed. Because we changed the stormwater fund, the 2 personnel that we moved over to the stormwater fund, that affected the sanitation fund. And so we actually ended up having a $6,452 surplus in the sanitation fund, which we couldn't have because they have to balance out, and that was because of staff allocations. So what we did is the general fund, the sanitation fund has a transfer from the general fund. And the sanitation fund with that transfer, because of the rearrangement of the stormwater, became $6,000 over. And so what we did is we reduced the transfer from the general fund. Does that make sense to everyone? So the transfers number changed.
Okay, that's not clear to me. I mean, you're right, I don't understand it. When we did the stormwater, we got the exact wages, gross wages for those 2 individuals that were putting in stormwater. So I don't see how that affected sanitation. We took them from Public Works, we put them into stormwater, we accounted for them in stormwater.
I understand, I don't know, other than there was maybe Gay, do you know?
I have no clue because it's exactly that way. We moved them from Public Works to, no one in sanitation is going to stormwater. So I don't know either.
I'd like an explanation on that before I say I don't understand it. And we're careful to make sure that we have the exact dollar amount from Public Works to sanitation, and then the 2 additional employees in Public Works, we went high, we got married and all that.
And possibly, maybe it was a typo, but the information I was given today is there was a $6,452 overage in the sanitation fund. We had transferred that too much from the general fund into the sanitation fund. So what we did in this new amended budget was to just take that transfer overage out and put it back into the general fund.
I just need to understand how and why, that's all. I mean, I don't see where, I can see where maybe there's a mistake in sanitation, I just don't understand where calculation.
I'm just the messenger, so I'm just telling you that's what it was and that's what happened.
Okay.
The pavilion was added in, $16,900. They are gonna start work hopefully in the 2012 fiscal year, but we won't actually get invoiced for it or pay for it until the work is complete, which won't be until the 2013 fiscal year. We did receive insurance money, which is close to that, but we received that, I don't know, 2 years ago, some time ago. So that insurance money has been budgeted and allocated elsewhere. We don't have that saved away somewhere to take that out of a fund. So we had to go back and rebudget for the 16.9.
A question on that, would that not have gone into general fund then when it came in? The 15,000?
It did, but we spent it.
Well, we have a surplus in general fund, so wouldn't it stay
Right, so
there?
it's coming out, I mean, it's coming out, but we have to budget for it. It was nowhere in this budget, so it's coming out of the
So you
general
have it
fund.
here, you have it coming out of,
Just general fund, out of parks.
No, but now we're putting it in our budget,
and you haven't
and
paid it.
we're taxing for it. Where
You have to.
it came in from the insurance company,
Right.
$15,000 of that came in to the city.
But you're not all money goes into the general fund. Every money,
Understand.
all the money we collect goes into the general fund. So when we
Understand.
collected that money from the insurance company, it just went into our bank account.
Mhm.
And so in the, I don't know when, but sometime in the last 2 years in our budget, we didn't put that, we have certain funds. For instance, we have a Snellville Days fund. We could have put that aside in a park pavilion fund, but we didn't. We just put it into our general bank account. And so that money is not accounted for anywhere. So if we're gonna spend that money, we have to budget for it as a line item.
But we're
And so that's
budget-
what we've done now.
I agree, I understand, but we're budgeting against the current tax year. Okay,
Because
so
we're paying for it in the
taxing
current
it-
tax year.
Right, we're paying for it from the tax year, but it's coming out of our budget here where we're up from taxes.
Right.
Where we have, that money is already in the general fund. 'cause we
It's
paid
not
it
in the general fund. We've spent that money. That money's gone. You're not listening to what I'm saying.
Then we have a zero balance, aren't we? We're going into the year with a zero balance in our general fund.
We never have a zero balance in our general fund.
We're probably just not communicating
Yeah,
correctly.
you're not, you're not.
This money came in and it went into our general fund. We have a surplus in our general fund. It's part of that surplus in our general fund,
Right.
okay?
No.
Sure it is.
How can you say that? How
We
do you-
never budgeted for it.
Okay, but how do you know we didn't budget it? How do you know we didn't spend it somewhere else? I mean, the last 2
Does
years.
that little blue
in the
marks
last
on
2
the
years-
edges, or, I mean,
Right, but in the last 2 years, we've overspent our budget, so we've
No, we
taken
haven't.
money.
No, we haven't. We have $1 million surplus in 2009.
We've overspent our budget. If you go back, we've amended our budget because we've spent more than what we budgeted for.
But we still have a
Doesn't mean we
surplus.
haven't, we've still had a savings account. We've always had a savings account.
And we added to it.
Right. But it doesn't mean we haven't, I mean, you can't, I mean, we have a pot of money. You can't say we've spent this $5 and not this $5. We have a savings account.
We did not budget for that income, correct?
Correct. No, it was added into our budget as income.
I'd like to see that, because couldn't find it. I looked for it. I couldn't find
It
it.
should
But
have
anyway,
been.
it came in, it's an outside source, okay? All I'm saying is now, we're figuring our 2013 taxes, okay? What we are going to charge our citizens, all right? And we're including that $16,000, $16,900 as part of their taxes for 2013, but we received that money in 2009, 2010,
But-
and it was a surplus.
I understand your point. I understand your
Okay.
point. But I don't think, I understand you're looking at it from a tax, we can't, in government, we can't distinguish between we're taking it out of this account or we're taking it out of this account. All of our money comes from our general fund. So we can't say, we have to put it in our budget. We can't say, we don't want this in the budget to be considered for taxes. Everything we spend has to go in that budget. We're still gonna have the savings, whether we take it, I mean, it doesn't, it's still gonna, the bottom line's still gonna be the same.
No, well,
Yeah, but you don't have a paper trail. You have money coming in and going who knows where, and now we have an expenditure.
Right, but we can't, as a government, we can't have an expenditure. If we don't have it in this budget, we can't purchase it. We have to budget for everything we're gonna have an expenditure
Oh, I
for.
understand that, but then we should bring 15,000 back.
But we're not receiving 15,000.
We got it. We got it in the past.
2 years ago, but that's not
No,
something we
not-
can fix in this
well,
budget,
But not 2 years ago.
whenever the
We're
time is,
talking,
but we can't.
it's,
Okay, but
I mean,
you
it's less
you
than-
guys are fighting over semantics, and I'm telling you what we have to do to pass a budget. And so to pass this budget, if you want to approve it, if you wanna make that expenditure, it needs to show up in this budget. If you don't wanna make the expenditure, then we don't need to budget for it.
I guess I'm sharing some of the same concerns, because if our general fund has a surplus, and the general fund at the end of this fiscal year will have a surplus.
and I don't agree we overspent our budget the last 2 years. I mean, we have a surplus. So, I mean, we adjusted our budget because we adjusted our income in, but we still have a surplus.
I understand, you wanna show that there's more money so that you can lower taxes. I understand what you're getting at, but the bottom
Well,
line is we
exactly,
have.
I make no qualms.
Okay, the bottom line is we have a bank account, and regardless if we take, you still have to spend that
You
money.
have to spend it. I'd just like to see it come back.
But we don't
from
have any
the
way,
overage
we don't have any
in the
way to
past.
do that.
We can't transfer anything.
No, where are we gonna transfer the money from? We're not getting any money in.
We got it.
What about the money?
It has already been accounted for.
We have money, we have surplus money somewhere.
No, we don't have any surplus money.
Yeah, $3.1 million.
That's a savings account, you're getting surplus and savings.
Well, how did that money
But how did that money get there?
It's a savings account, though. You
From-
can't go
from
back.
where?
If
From
you
where?
listen, you can't go back in prior years and change it. This is our current budget. If you want to make an expense in the current budget, you have to budget for it. You can't go back. They should have done it that way. Yeah, whenever that money came in, they should have budgeted for it. They should have accounted for it. We can't go back and change that now. We have to deal with the situation. So if you want this pavilion fixed in 2013, then it has to come out of this budget. That's the bottom line. If you don't want to put it in this budget, then the pavilion doesn't get fixed. If you put it in the budget, then the pavilion gets fixed.
And where does the money in the savings account go?
All of the money is in a savings account.
I understand that, but at some point in time, you don't just keep adding money to the savings account.
No, we don't.
At some point in time, you
Our
spend
revenue
it.
has to meet our expenditures, and that's what we're
Right.
getting at.
What is our general fund balance?
It got lost in a black hole.
What is our general fund balance right now? Is anybody tell me that?
It should be in there.
General fund balance is never shown in your budget.
It's about, well, it's got the SDS money in it.
About $3.1
It's got about $3
million.
million in it. We had a little bit more, but we just wrote that check that came out of the general fund, so. But you can't show, your budget has to show, you can't show that I'm not budgeting for this, I'm taking this out of my general fund because I think I have too much savings. You can't budget like that. Everything has to come out of your budget.
But it's gonna come from the general fund either way, correct?
It is, but you can't budget it like that.
Oh, I understand that, but it's, if we can find out that the money went into this big pot, and we didn't take it out this year, we took it out that year,
You
then,
can't, I mean-
then you've got the paper trail that says we didn't just spend the money on nothing, and now we're gonna raise your taxes to pay for this. The money did come
Nobody's
in.
talking about raising in taxes.
Oh, I understand, but
Okay.
somebody's gonna come back,
Sure
no,
we're
somebody's
clear.
gonna come back and
No one in this room
say.
is talking about raising taxes.
Right, but somebody's gonna come back, and I'm just trying to get it to where, when a citizen comes and says, what about this? That we can explain how the money came in and how the money's going out.
Well, you can-
Let me ask you this. Because should have been spent this year in 2012. Everybody agree with that? I mean, this pavilion should have been fixed.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just say
Yeah.
the damage happened in March, we didn't get till June, July,
Right.
March, April, whatever it was. Let's just, for the sake of argument, say it should have been fixed this year.
Mhm.
Is there any reason why we can't amend the budget to have $16,000, whatever it is, put back in this?
Yes,
2012,
you
then
cannot do
2012.
that because we're not incurring the expense in 2012. You can only amend it for expenses that were incurred.
We
It
can.
doesn't matter when when the repairs occur, it's when we actually pay that invoice. And so it's not gonna get paid by June 30th, so it cannot go in this year's
We
budget.
can get an invoice and stroke that check.
We're not gonna pay it until the work is complete though, that's not our policy, so we're not gonna pay that invoice until 2013.
But I don't
Would you,
want to
I mean,
belabor
would
the
it
point,
be,
I'm just saying.
right, but would it be good policy
that
for us to pay
under-
for work
under the
before
threat of
it's
not
done?
fixing-
No.
Under the threat of not fixing the pavilion, because we can't agree on, as you called it, semantics. I see us putting money in the budget that we need to spend that we've already taxed our citizens for, and we're doing it again.
We never taxed our citizens for it, it was an insurance payment that came in from insurance.
Well, no, I mean, we base it
We're
on the
not
budget
taxing
number.
for them now either.
We based it on the budget number, though. It's in the budget today.
Alright, well, you can make whatever changes. The proposed amendment for 2013 has the $6,900 because that will be billed in 2013 fiscal year budget.
So,
So we can have this discussion out on the bench. I've got 5 minutes and we still need to go into a work session. So I'm gonna explain to you the rest of the changes, as they were explained to me earlier today. We also have,
Sanitation was an adjustment on their payroll, sanitation, 1%, she said, not stormwater.
okay, my apologies. The sanitation was when we changed the raise from whatever, 3% or 2% to 1%. They didn't change the raise in the sanitation department, so that's where the $6,452.
Right, had no-
Stormwater was
Thank you.
miscommunication, so I apologize for that. So that's where the difference came for that. The, made no difference on the bottom line, but the confiscated funds, fund, showed expenditures of $105,500, but there was no revenue showing in that. Again, they have to balance out. That revenue was actually surplus revenue that they are now spending this year, and so we just added that surplus prior year surplus of $105,500.
Stop right there.
Mhm.
So we're adding in the surplus and counting for that, okay, because, that's to make that balance. We can't add $16,900 surplus from last year into this budget to pay for the pavilion?
No, that's its own fund, the confiscated assets fund,
It's-
money
it's a
that,
fund.
right, money that gets collected goes in there, and they had $105,000 budgeted
Right.
for this year they didn't spend. It's a special fund that when they confiscate something, it
I
goes right in the fund.
understand.
We don't have anything like that for a pavilion.
No, we have a general fund.
Right. We have no surplus to, I mean, we don't
We
have.
do have a surplus.
You're
Okay,
losing
all
my
right, all right,
point. You're losing
that's
my
fine,
point.
okay, I understand. I'm not really trying not to be, not trying to be difficult, although it appears that way. I really think, that this money was put into, this money was brought in from the insurance company and put into our general fund. And if we're gonna spend it now, okay, then I don't think it should come under our budget and people be taxed for it. I think the amount should be transferred from our general fund equal to the amount that we're spending this year to fix that pavilion because we brought it from the insurance company.
I understand your argument. It wasn't done that way when the money came in, so you tell me a way under governmental accounting principles that we can do it tonight, and I'm happy to listen to it. I don't know how to satisfy
A
you
funds
with
transfer.
governmental accounting.
A funds
You can't-
transfer.
There's not a need for a funds transfer. It's all coming out of our general fund. You can't transfer from general fund to general fund.
I can transfer from surplus to existing taxes.
No.
Okay. Well, I'll get the answer, okay. Okay.
The other changes had to do with LCI project, and that is part of the exec session, so do I have a motion that we can go in exec session and take up those two issues?
So moved.
There's a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Witt, is there a second? Second by Councilwoman Kraus. With that, during a special call meeting, the mayor and council of Snellville, Georgia, Mayor Kraus announced certain matters to be discussed in the closed session of the meeting as council advised the city with respect to closing the meeting. City Attorney Tony Powell advised the city of the following reasons to close the meeting: to discuss pending and potential litigation, settlement claims, administrative proceedings, or other judicial actions which is exempt from the Open Meetings Act pursuant to OCGA Section 50-14-2, subsection 1. Or doing real estate too?
I don't really know if we're talking about getting an update on condemnation.
Authorize
things.
negotiations to purchase, dispose of, or lease property. Authorize ordering of appraisal related to the acquisition or disposal of real estate. Enter into a contract to purchase, dispose of, or lease property subject to approval and subsequent public vote. Or enter into an option to purchase, dispose of, or lease real estate subject to approval and subsequent public vote, which is excluded from the Open Meetings Act pursuant to Section 50-14-3, subsection B1C. Upon appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action, or dismissal, or periodic evaluation or rating of a public officer or employee, which is excluded pursuant to OCGA Section 50-14-3B2. The meeting was closed with following council members and mayor present and voting. Mayor Couch, yes. Councilman Manuel.
Yes.
Councilman Howard.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kraus.
Yes.
Councilman Sabah.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem West.
Yes.
That meeting was closed.